Chapter 19. War in Heaven. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, that listen to me, let us study tonight the topic related to war in heaven. Much has been said about the great rebellion of the angels against the Eternal One. It has been affirmed that Michael with his hosts of light had to fight against the dragon and his followers. All of this, my friends, is completely symbolic. One has to know how to understand it so as to not fall into error. In past lectures we have given ample explanations about the devil and the dragon. Now we will go into this matter in more depth. In parenthesis, I would like to relate to everyone present that I have a bet with the devil, and this could surprise you a little. On a certain occasion, the date and the hour do not matter, the two of us seated, face to face, at a table, I heard from the lips of my own inner Lucifer the following affirmations: I will defeat you in chastity, and I will show you, you cannot win over me. Do you want to bet with me? Yes, answered Satan, I am willing to make the bet. How much do we bet for? For so much, and it was done. I walked away from that personage, which is nothing more than the reflection of my own inner logos, treating him in reality a little badly. In the name of the truth, I would like to say to you, my friends, that until this moment I am winning the bet. Since the devil cannot win over me, in no way has he been able to make me fall into temptation, although I have had to wage tremendous battles with him. The war, then, is tremendous. I am defeating the dragon, and I can say that I have vanquished him. This is the same thing that Michael did against Lucifer, the same struggle of every initiate against his dragon. In the same way that Michael defeated all the rebel angels, in the same manner each of us should defeat and disintegrate all the devil eyes or psychic aggregates that personify our errors. Looking at this matter of war in the heavens from another angle, we find that such an allegory also represents the struggle that there was between the primitive adepts of the Aryan race and the sorcerers of Atlantis, the demons of the ocean, etc., etc. It is unquestionable that after the submersion of that ancient continent, the black magicians of the ancient land, swallowed by the waters, continued to incessantly attack the adepts of the new race to which all of us belong. The allegory, then, of the war in the skies has various meanings. It can symbolize religious, astronomical, geologic events, and besides, possess a very profound cosmological meaning. In the sacred land of the Vedas, much has been talked about the battles of Indra against Vritra. Obviously, the shining god Indra is called by the wise men Vritra since he is the killer of the dragon, in the same manner that Michael is the conqueror of the same. It is clear that every initiate that kills or defeats the dragon is swallowed by the serpent and is immediately converted into a serpent as Votan. However, the sexual temptations are usually terrible. Rare are those who do not fall into temptation. Satan, the dragon, Lucifer, or whichever way we want to call him, makes tremendous super efforts to make the initiate fall into temptation, and it is clear that almost all initiates fail. That is why it is difficult to get self-realized people. The weakness of persons is found precisely there, in sex, and however strong they think themselves to be, they succumb at the end. The war in the sky is something terrible, almost impossible to describe with words. The sexual temptations are not just anything. Is it perhaps easy to defeat the dragon? The most serious thing of this is that people have the ego alive. The red demons of Seth have not died, and the conscience of each person trapped within the sinister aggregates truly functions within its own conditioning and even justifies itself, washing its hands like Pilate, or postpones the error by saying, I couldn't today, but later with time I will triumph, etc. In this manner, the Michaels that defeat the dragon are very rare. One has to find them with the lamp of Diogenes. These people are too weak, fragile, ignorant, arid, absurd. In the old texts of classic antiquity, much has also been said about fallen angels, but this is not understood by the learned ignoramuses, nor the intellectual rascals. Any Gurudeva that falls into animal-like generation immediately becomes a fallen angel and even a demon. It is unquestionable that when any adept commits the crime of spilling the cup of Hermes, there resurrects within himself all the inhumane elements that he had disintegrated before, and because of such a motive he immediately becomes one more demon. We have then arrived at the root of a much discussed, well-studied and rarely comprehended topic. What happens is that to be able to comprehend this matter one needs to have lived it. Suppositions and vain rationalisms are useless here. Since I lived all of this in a remote archaic past, when a multitude of Lemurian bodhisattvas committed the error of falling into animal generation, that is why I can give testimony about all of this and explain it crudely, as it is and without suppositions or utopias of any kind. I do not care if people believe me or not. I am saying what I have lived and that is all. For the rest, every man for himself in his life. I affirm what I have proven to myself, what I have been able to see, hear, touch and palpate. This matter of fallen angels is represented in India with the religious struggles of the Iranians against the Brahmins, gods against demons, gods against asuras, as is seen in the war of the Mahabharata, etc. This matter of the battles against the dragon can also be seen in the Scandinavian Eddas, where there appear asses fighting against the ice giants Asathor against Jotmas. I want then, my friends, for you to comprehend the necessity of fighting against the dragon. I want you to understand that you should overcome him in field battles, if in reality you aspire to convert yourselves into serpents of wisdom and into terribly divine gods. I beg you to please come out of the ignorance in which you find yourselves. I entreat you to study these books and live them. It really hurts me to see all of you converted into weak and miserable shadows. Question, Master, could you explain to us if the eye or eyes that has or have been disintegrated surge forth once again within a person who fails while working in the lit forge of Vulcan? Answer, distinguished Gnostic sister, it is unquestionable that any sexual fall resurrects immediately and by its own right some subjective infrahuman element. That is why our Lord Jesus Christ said, the disciple should not let himself fall, because the disciple that lets himself fall has to fight very much to recover what he has lost afterwards. Question, Master, you talk to us about war in heaven and we know by your teachings that the fights against the secret enemy should be done in the Avernus, that is, descending to the hells. Can you clarify this? Answer, friends, the allegorical meaning of all religious writers, whether they be Christians, Buddhists, Muslims, etc., goes without question. The matter of heavens refers to states of consciousness. Indubitably our states of consciousness are altered in the struggle. The battle against the secret enemy can take us to definite liberation or radical failure. It would certainly be incongruent to suppose, even for a moment, passionate temptations in divine, ineffable regions. Because of this we should translate the word heavens as states of consciousness or as functionalisms of the essence, etc. Question, Master, when you mention that you made a bet with your inner Lucifer, can we understand that the winnings of this is your own soul? Answer. Friends, Gnostic brothers, there exist valuations and devaluations for the being. There also exist cosmic capitals equivalent to virtues. The sum of such a bet is based on determined cosmic capital. The latter is appraised in a similar manner as the coins of the world are appraised, and therefore, I would be deprived of a certain sum of virtues and devaluated intimately. I think that the brothers in the audience have understood me with what I have expressed here. Question, Master, we have been taught that the ego can be disintegrated working in the lit forge of Vulcan. What can you tell us about this? Answer, distinguished madam, we have in past talks already talked very extensively about the modus operandi for the dissolution of the myself. Of the very self we have also given extensive explanations of the same theme in our book titled, The Mystery of the Golden Flowering. There we had said that there was a need to work with the lance of Eros during the chemical coitus or metaphysical copulation. I think then that this audience no longer ignores our Gnostic esoteric processes. What is most important consists precisely in knowing how to pray during the Sahaja Maithuna. In such instance, one has to entreat one's own divine mother Kundalini, because each person has his own, so that she will eliminate the error that we need to eradicate or extirpate from our own psyche. It is indisputable that the sexual transcendental electricity can reduce to ashes any psychological defect. Undoubtedly, our Divine Mother Kundalini, handling with dexterity the holy lance, can turn to dust any psychic aggregate, any inner defect. We also said in past lectures that it is necessary to have first comprehended the defect that we want to extirpate from our nature. It is ostensible that only through the technique of meditation can we comprehend any error in an integral manner. Comprehension and elimination are basic for the dissolution of the myself, of the very self-question. Master, can you explain to us if on spilling the cup of Hermes the Kundartagwader organ is developed? Answer. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is urgent to comprehend that when the cup of Hermes is spilled in a continuous and habitual manner, the abominable Kundartagwader organ, the famous satanic tale of the tenebrous ones, the sinister, negative fohat that in the end leads us on the descending, infrahuman way to the abyss and the second death, also develops. Question, Master, can you tell us if working in the lit forge of Vulcan, without spilling the cup of Hermes, but without disintegrating the pluralized I, in the end also develops the Kundartagwader organ? Answer, friends, distinguished madam that asks the question. It is very necessary to comprehend the necessity of an upright conduct when one works in the forge of the Cyclops. He who does not die in himself, he who does not dissolve the ego, in the end develops the abominable Kundartagwader organ, even if he is working in the lit forge of Vulcan, sex yoga. We have already said in previous chapters that the abominable organ of all the fatalities is developed in adulterers, in those who betray the guru, in the sincerely mistaken ones who are used to justifying transgressions, in the irate and perverse ones, etc., although they are working with white tantrism, although they do not spill the cup of Hermes. Only by dying in ourselves and truly working in the ninth sphere and sacrificing ourselves for our fellow men, are we able to develop in our inner nature the igneous serpent of our magical powers. Later on we have to defeat the dragon totally, if in reality we aspire to being devoured by the serpent to transform ourselves into serpents. Question, Master, the battle that the Archangel Michael waged against the dragon and the rebellious angels, should we understand it that he did it with the spear of Longinus? Answer, my friends, the spear of Longinus is the same spear of all magical pacts, the same one with which St. George wounded the dragon. There is no doubt that this holy lance, this spear of Achilles, is the marvelous emblem of the sexual energy with which we can incinerate, burn, destroy radically the diverse parts of the myself, of the ego, of the psychological I. Question, Venerable Master, what do the rebel angels allegorize? Answer, friends, it is said that Michael fought against the dragon and his rebel angels as we have to do against our inner Lucifer and the psychic aggregates. It has to do with internal, secret, terrible, and very painful struggles. Each of us should transform himself then into a Michael, incessantly fighting against the dragon and his fatal hosts.